Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with us, he's a director, and he has a movie that's out in distribution right now, and it's called Tiny Shaman. I have with us today the director, Jude Bertrand. Jude, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
It's a pleasure, man. So, tell us a little bit about Tiny Shaman.
So, Tiny Shaman was a project I originally was actually hired to write the script for. There was a fellow I met online, and he wanted a script that he could, something low budget that he could make with his daughter before she went to college. Ended up not being able to. He said he would still buy the script, but at that point I kind of liked it, so I was like, that's all right. I'll probably just end up making this myself, and that's kind of the origin story.
Now, how long did it take you, production-wise, for this one?
Production-wise, it was actually only a 2-day shoot on set, and then it was edited pretty fast. Besides the sound design, that actually took a while because I went through 3 different sound engineers until I ended up just doing it myself with my brother-in-law.
And right now, this film is in distribution. Now, right now, when it comes to making indie films, I mean, it's pretty easy to get a film made, but one of the challenges is distribution and choosing a distributor. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
So for me, it honestly just kind of fell in my lap. I submitted the film into a bunch of different festivals, and it got accepted into a good amount. There was one in North Beach, Maryland, called Frights and Fears, hosted by a guy named Anthony Green. And Tiny Shaman, I won Best Director in that festival. And he ended up getting a distribution deal through his festival. So Tiny Shaman is part of an anthology called Frights and Fears Volume 1, where all the award winners from that festival are on that DVD. It's on Tubi as well. Hello?
Okay, my thing just went out. Okay. So, as a screenwriter, is it hard to write a screenplay and then put those pieces into action in actual filmmaking process?
I think so, especially on like a low budget or a micro budget, because you kind of have to write the screenplay, kind of knowing your limitations of what you can actually do on set.
Because I can imagine, like, you're writing this script and you got so many ideas or things that you would like to see, and like you said, you have to fit everything into your budget. Now, when you were actually making the film, were there a lot of ideas that you had to cut out?
Well, there's one major idea. I don't know if you're familiar with Roman Polanski's Repulsion.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's the scene where she's walking with like the silhouette light and all the hands reach out. Repulsion was a big inspiration for Tiny Shaman. So originally in the script, there was going to be a wall built, and we were going to, have hands reach out at the main character Kyrie. Due to budget limitations and not really being able, in the house we rented to use, we weren't able to kind of make any modifications. Had to scrap that. So we ended up trying to do another scene where there were people in these putty suits, and there was goo everywhere, and the 3 people in the putty suits were reaching out her. But when I got back to the cutting board, there was a tarp on the floor, so the floor didn't get damaged, and you could see just the whole tarp the whole time. You couldn't even make out the putty, so we had to reshoot that. And that's how we actually ended up with like the safari jungle sequence that's in the final cut.
Now, when it comes to filmmaking, there's probably each project you probably learn positive and negatives. What was one positive thing that you were like, damn, this went well, I want to carry this over to the next project? And the second part of the question is, what was one thing you were like, damn, I would never ever do this again?
For the positive, I would just say like learning innovation and just really trying to push your boundaries on a low budget, and just kind of be a little ambitious with it, and just, it's not always going to turn out, but when it does, it's really worth it. and just I'll never do this again. It's just on set you're always behind. It's always stressful. You're always being told why you can't get something or why you can't do something, and I just show up and I'm like, yeah, just tell me how we can do it. I don't want to hear why we can't do it.
So, I mean, listen. So I've been on one film set, and Blood and Breakfast, to give them a shout out. And there's a lot of obstacles that I did not realize that I don't think most people who've never worked on a film or been on a film set. There's so many fucking random things that pop up for a director, like one of your cast not showing up. There's something. It starts the weather. There's so many unpredictable things that pop up that you have to be able to maneuver through, and I can imagine that's fucking stressful.
It is, but it's kind of like it's a good kind of stress, I think, because I do good under high stress situations. I was a line cook for a long time, so that's also a very stressful job because you just have ticket after ticket after ticket coming in, and so it's kind of I kind of relate it to that, where it's like issue after issue after issue, and you just kind of got to solve them and go. And you are very stressed during the time, but when you're done, you kind of look back and it's like I managed that pretty well.
Because it almost seems like in order to be, especially an indie filmmaker, you have to be a stress addict, or you have to love and feed off of stress.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever say I loved it, but I think there is something to that.
Because I couldn't fucking do it. I mean, people ask me, like, hey, would you ever be interested? I love horror. So I love horror. People ask me, like, would you do it? I'm like, no, I wouldn't do it. Because I feel like I would just be making a film. And I feel like I'm not a filmmaker. I would just be making a film. And I definitely feel like there's a difference between filmmakers and people who just make films. And I'd never, ever want to insult, by making a movie, insult real filmmakers.
Well, and I think everyone's a real filmmaker. Everyone can be an artist, so I wouldn't put limitations on yourself like that. I wouldn't feel insulted if you made a film. You know what I mean?
It would be a vanity project, Jude. It would definitely be a vanity project. So I'm assuming that you've always been a horror fan. What was like the first horror movie that really made you fall in love with horror?
The first horror movie that made me fall in love with horror. It's not my favorite anymore, but probably actually Halloween 4.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I really love the scene where he's chasing the little girl through the house, and they go through that. She goes through that laundry chute, and she takes his mask off, and she touches his face. But before she does, you see like a second of humanity behind his eyes, and then when she touches him, he kind of snaps back into just being like just a killer. And I like this. Like I don't know. I really like psychology in film, and I think that's probably the first horror that I saw that really displayed that to me.
And Halloween 4 was the first Halloween movie that I actually saw. Even though my favorite is the original. The original is my favorite horror movie of all time. I'm a huge I'm a fan. But Part 4 was the first one I saw because it was on TV, and it was heavily edited, but like that was the first time I fell in love with Michael Myers. And that is such a underrated horror film. We ask people about what's your favorite Halloween movie. You see a lot of people say Part 1, and some people even say Part 2. But Part 4, I mean, George Wilbur, who was the actor who played Michael Myers, I mean, he's definitely up in my top 3. I mean, he's a menacing Michael Myers. And Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd was great. I mean, Donald Pleasant was great. I mean, that movie is definitely one of the underrated ones in the Halloween series.
I agree. It was the first one I saw as well. I love Donald Pleasant in anything he's in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I also saw it on TV. Before that, I know my family used to go to Blockbuster all the time. That was like our thing on Fridays, and we would just get a bunch of horror. But I can't. That's the first one that stands out to me.
It was crazy. So like my parents, I started watching horror movies when I was like 3 years old, so way too young.
Same,
So my
same.
parents were like Halloween, what was like haunted house fan. But I mean, I'm a horror movie fan. But my parents were not, for some reason, they did not like the Halloween movies. So we didn't rent any Halloween movies. So the Halloween movies, I don't tell most people this. Like I got introduced to the Halloween movies through TV, and I fell in love with them. And like my older sister, she took me. I remember I was in middle school, and she took me to see Personal Michael Myers, Part 6, and in the movie theaters. And I know a lot of people hate that movie, but I have a special place in my heart for that movie because that was like the second movie I ever saw in a movie theater. The first one was Jason Goes to Hell, where she took me to. Javon, shout out for being an awesome older sister, but there are some gems in that Halloween series that that we forget about because the original was so damn good.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm not really a big slasher guy myself. I like a couple of the Child's Play movies, but other than that, I'm not really like a big Nightmare or on Elm Street or even Friday the 13th fan. But I really do love some of the Halloween movies.
So once you finish Tiny Shaman, and now it's out and it was on the film festival circuits. Was it? I mean, how did that feel? Were you like, "This is fucking awesome"? I mean, to actually see something that you spent time on, and it was a piece of work. I mean, it was your masterpiece. I mean, and you get to see it, and some film festivals where people are watching it and people are praising it.
The anxiety of that was actually crazy because every time I would get the email that said "Film Freeway" with a decision, I would wait like 10, 20 minutes before I would open it because I just didn't want to see the rejections or it was so so nerve wracking. But the more and more that it was accepted, because I've made other films too, and they didn't do nearly as well. It was just it was very like fulfilling, yeah, like you said. Because at the same time, like editing, I spent so many hours editing this movie. I know all of its flaws, and it's like wow, people like it.
I mean, it's a great feeling when you put your time and effort into something and you get positive response from an audience. I mean, it's something. I mean, even I feel with my YouTube channel when I see comments and likes, I'm like, wow, because I mean, it's a piece of you, and like yes, you love it, but I mean, it makes you feel great when you see other people enjoying it as well.
Yeah, and then also like just a lot of people being able to see it that way, going to festivals, it's like you get to share your art, and I feel like that's the whole purpose of why we produce art, is to share it.
I agree. Now, are you? I mean, I'm pretty sure you're like me. You were, yes, you went to the video stores, but you also like. I was huge. I like to go to the theater. Still like going to the theaters. Are you worried that the theater are going to succumb to streaming services, where the streaming services are going to be the only way to watch movies?
Yes and no. I actually kind of see this through a bit of a different perspective. So I think the streaming services will eliminate big blockbusters and big Hollywood productions, because they're not going to. Well, they'll still happen, but they're not going to be making money through the theater. But at the same time, I think we may get more like theater revivals, where you have theaters showing older films or independent films, and maybe even European films, foreign films of all sorts, and you get more of a variety, and you get to see things that you wouldn't normally see in theaters. Because I think at the end of the day, people are still going to want to go out no matter what. Not everyone likes to go out, but I think most people do occasionally, at least, like to go and do something.
Yeah, I'm a huge theater person. I love going to the theater as much as possible. I mean, I just love I love the experience of a theater. But one thing I do that I fucking love right now is something you were saying. A lot of indie especially horror movies, are getting theatrical release, which is fucking incredible. It's something that you wouldn't have seen, even a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think it's because the theater's not the best way, or debuting in a theater is not the best way to actually make money. So there's a lot of open spots for these independent films to just kind of sneak their way in now,
Yeah. And I mean, I still feel like that's the ultimate way of seeing a movie is on a theater. And I know I've seen many movies in a theater and been like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And then go home and watch it on the TV. And I'm like, but this wasn't as good. I'm like, why did I love this movie so much?
That's the experience,
it's the experience, it's the environment. And I mean, the last one that did it for me was Halloween Kills. I saw that in the theaters. I was like, wow, this might be the best Halloween movie I ever saw. And then I came home and watched it on Peacock or HBO or whatever channel was streaming on simultaneously. And I was like, why did I like this movie?
I can relate to that feeling.
All right, Jude, as you know, this is a horror channel, and this is something I like doing every once in a while. I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions as a personal opinion. Are you ready?
All right.
First question. What is your favorite horror reboot?
Does it have to be a modern reboot, or could it be something that was rebooted a while ago?
It could be something rebooted a while ago.
Probably the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's a great one. That is a great. I saw it in theaters, and that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's a great film. I think it's in my top 10 horror films, actually, of all time.
And it's a shame with that series, they haven't made it a great one since. Like, they've made... Probably since that movie, they probably made about 6 more Texas Chainsaw Massacres, and it's just one of those series that they can't seem to get it right.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
Okay, all right. This is the second question. Question is, who would be on when it comes to horror villains? Who would be on your Mount Rushmore?
My personal Mount Rushmore?
Yes.
Michael Myers. Leatherface. The last 2 are tricky. See, I don't want to put all slashers, so I'm trying to think. You know what? Norman Bates.
Norman Bates, icon. Yes. And who's the last one?
Pazuzu.
Oh, it's the first time someone has said that one. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, I'm going to shoot over to the final question.
All right, let's hear it.
What horror series do you wish they would stop making movies?
That they would stop making movies?
Yes, you're absolutely done with them. They need to take a break.
Halloween, but they are done, I think, for now.
I hope so. Yes. That is mine too. That's mine too. Because I love the series, but that last 2 movies definitely. Yeah, mixed with the zombie movies and just a resurrection and shit like that. It's just, it's kind of ruined it for me.
For sure.
All right, Jude, where can everyone find you, my friend?
BrightRaven_cinema on Instagram is probably where I do most of my posting. And then Tiny Shaman you can also find on Frights and Fears Volume 1 on Tubi.
Awesome.
But also Bright Raven Film on YouTube. I have another short film on there, actually. It's not a horror, but if you want to check it out, you can check it out.
Definitely going to check them out. Listen, everybody, please check out and follow Jude as well on Instagram. Jude, it's been a blast having you on, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was a good time.
Anytime, my friend. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and that is Jude Bertrand. We'll see you next time. Take care.